Okay, thank you. Okay, so Lori just asked a question. What's the difference between media design and this class? Well, I'm going to answer that with a lengthier answer than you expect. And Jay's going to look at you and go, yeah, she does that. Right? Okay, so this is graphic, I'm sorry. This is graphic design 1. The hierarchy of courses in the graphic design and photography department start with, I want to say they start with Graphic Design Basics 111. Okay? In 111, you should leave that class, my agenda, you should leave that class proficient in InDesign, knock your socks off with paragraph style sheets, know how to make a book, understand bindery, meaning how you take all these pages and turn them into a book, and how to get them to a printer with the files you create to make a book. That's my agenda for 111. The truth is, it's a heavy-handed agenda because you can only grab so much information as you learn software, honestly. It's a heavy-handed agenda because by the time you're done with the class, you kind of get there, don't you, Jay? My class, my 111 class, by the time you're done with that, you're kind of there. You know how to make a book?
Yeah, bind it.
And bind it. You do it. Okay. And Chris is nodding, right, Chris? You're Chris, right? Okay. He's nodding because he's saying, yeah, I think I could do that from my 111 class. Yeah? Okay. Yeah? All right, good. So 111 should lay the ground for work for InDesign. What I hear from many of you in this class, actually our largest percentage of the course, is that you haven't had 111, so you don't know what the heck InDesign is. And you probably, if I said, go make me a book, you wouldn't know how to start, right? Okay. Raise your hand if that's the truth, your truth.
Definitely two.
Raise it really high. See, that's like, what, 70% of you? Something like that. Okay. Now, to answer you, the 110 class in my universe, in a Vicky universe, is all about deciding who you are in the world and how to visually put yourself out into the world while you dabble in Adobe Creative Suite, meaning while you dabble in Photoshop, while you dabble in Illustrator, while you learn some skills in InDesign, while you learn how to pull it together in Acrobat Professional, you, in the meantime, are learning little skills and learning how to represent yourself out in the world visually. Did we succeed at that, Lori?
Yeah.
We did. Okay, good. That's my purpose for 110. Lori took 110. She took 16 screaming packed weeks and took them in a really 5.5 week period of time. So she gave up sleeping, I think, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. She worked 24/7 around the clock. That's kind of what it required. But that's my point. That you should walk out of saying, yeah, I understand each of those softwares a little bit, and the answer would probably be, I could muddle through if I find a YouTube video to support me. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because that's a basic class. Being me, I expect everybody to deliver like it's the end-all class, but that's pretty much the expectation of it. Now, this class, let's see, so then what comes next is 113, which is typography, and you should be very skilled in InDesign after working in typography. You should understand everything about type, point size, fonts, typefaces, letter form shapes, leading, and know what that word means, leading. And you should probably, I hope, have an understanding of paragraph style sheets and character style sheets in InDesign, because all you do is work with type. And then you should also know from that class how to take type and convert it to outlines and play with it in Illustrator as well. Chris keeps nodding for me. I really appreciate that because it helps me know if I'm saying it right. Okay, that's good. Okay, so now we come to 114, this class. What's the difference? So where 110 was very creative, that was your question. What's the difference between this and media design? Media design is very creative. It's kind of like anything goes. 114, I assume as your instructor that everybody in this class has had 111, and you're all going, no. And that everybody's just totally on top of InDesign, because this is your book for the class, and there's not one word about InDesign in here. This is not a book about how to do InDesign. This is a book about graphic design. InDesign is a software. This is about principles and elements of design. Making good aesthetic visual choices as you design anything. As you design a t-shirt, as you design a bookmark, as you design a web interface, as you design a poster, or this entire book, right? This is about the elements that go into designing something and the principles you use to be a successful designer. Does that clarify? So as I see this course, my purpose for you, and what I believe the intention of the course is that you learn the principles and elements of graphic design, which you also applied in your media design class. So we'll revisit those. Color, alignment, type, shape, proximity of elements, all kinds of things. Those are graphic design principles. We'll review those, and we'll have projects where you will work in Adobe InDesign, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe Photoshop to accomplish your projects. Okay? All submissions in this class, and I bet John has this video on and I'm touching the computer. I don't think so. Maybe not. Good.
We're good.
Okay. What I was going to say is, in this class, all the work that you submit is primarily submitted as a PDF file, a single PDF file. So you're going to learn how to work from InDesign to export to PDF files. Now, did that answer your question adequately? Yeah, pretty much? Okay. And then what follows this is another Graphic Design 2 class and a Publication Design class, which works again in creating publications. Publication is a multiple page document, whether it's digital or it's print. I've worked in graphic design for decades, and it's funny, but there's always going to be overlap in all the courses because that's the job of a graphic designer. I get a project and somebody says, I want you to design a book, and I can't say, I can't design a book for you because I did one for a client yesterday. I say, thank you so much. You're going to pay me money to do that. Yes. And but every client has a specific need, and so being a successful graphic artist, I believe, requires knowing who you are in the world and what's important to you. Let's just start right there. Just start right there. Who are you in the world? Who do you want to be in the world? How do you want to step into the world? What's important to you? And what voice do you want to put into the world? It's who you are on the planet. That's what you're doing here on the planet. And you can't be, actually, I'm going to make a broad statement. Let me know if you guys disagree, but my broad statement would be, you can't do anything without that as your foundation, right? Am I right? Okay. So it's important that you're always going to draw from that. So Chris, you said that you were in environmental, what's your job, environmental? Science, right. And so my guess is you probably said, okay, I'm going to save the world because the Earth's important to me and I'm going to find ways to make people care about it. Right. So you might, if you then switched your groove to graphic design, your whole groove might be, I understand environmental science inside and out, and you pursue that niche in the marketplace because you come loaded with awesome information. You know how to take this information that you understand, like in your bloodstream, in your cells, and then you know how to give it visual power. You're a force to be reckoned with, right? Okay, so each of you needs to be a force to be reckoned with. You want to design your own clothing company and have a skateboard company and create a brand and designs. So you came in here with your skateboard, which probably means you're a force to reckon with your skateboard too, right? And so when you hone that in the graphic design world, you give yourself power. You know what you're about, you know your market niche, you know what's important, you know what drives you, right? Okay, so that's always my agenda for any course. And there's a shell to this class which I'm going to walk you through. And it might morph, like I said in the beginning, because what I recognize is the core of this class, most of you probably are going to struggle, muddle through InDesign. And I will demo much of it. But, and who was it who said you can learn all kinds of stuff on YouTube? Is that what you said? Tell me your name again.
John?
John? Yeah. Okay. So John said, I can learn stuff on YouTube. The reality is you can all learn any software application without me. You do not need me. There is an organization called lynda.com. And lynda.com, I think, just got bought by LinkedIn. Did you? Am I right?
Yeah.
And lynda.com's like down in Carp. And it was a school teacher who said, I want my students to learn well. So she started making little videos to help them learn. Did you know this story? Okay, lynda.com is Lynda. Everybody needs to know that. Because if you don't know software, this is not a class where we're going to hold your hand and teach you software. I am so happy to demo stuff. I will probably demo stuff and move rapidly through it and demo it while it's being recorded here. So if you're like, well, you're going too fast, it's okay. You can go back and access the video and slow it down, right? All right? So you're going to need to really call upon your own self and your own resources to learn some of the software, all right? Because it's really not a software-based class. It's really a principles-based class. And but I'm not going to throw you to the wolves also, okay? So you're going to get like a little balance there. So one of the things I recommend you do if you're determined enough is make sure you are required. Let me just pull up the syllabus right now so start walking us through the class. So if you look behind me, you should be able to see this pretty easily. I'm going to turn down the light. There you go. Okay. So we talk about what's important in the class, and as you can see by just looking at the syllabus, here's the objectives. The graphic design process and the definition of the job. The truth is you're going to learn about being a graphic artist just because you're hanging out with me. You have a question, you ask it, you're going to learn everything about it just by hanging out in here. You're going to learn about it in your book. You're going to learn the terminology, you're going to learn the principles. You're going to learn the principles of graphic design, shape and color and all that I mentioned earlier. And I'm not going to read through this because you can do it yourself. But what is required of you in this class is everybody needs to have access to their own computer, or you're going to be tethered to the computers in the DAC Lab. DAC Lab stands for Digital Art Center, and there is a room right across the hallway here that has a whole lineup of computers with software for you, okay? If you don't have it, your own. I recommend you have your own because you're going to need it. You also should download Adobe Creative Cloud. Let me get to the part where it says software here. Did I pass it? Okay, here's a link to lynda.com. Here's a conversation at the top about the software. You're going to need Adobe Creative Suite. When you subscribe to Adobe Creative Suite as a student, I think it's $19.99? Yeah. Okay. So it's a monthly subscription. It updates constantly on the computer.
First month is free.
First month is free, says John. It makes me crazy. It updates so much I can't begin to keep up with it. So trust me, I do not know everything. I'm lucky if I know this much in the universe, right? So that's why we need each other, because if each of you knows something that one of us doesn't know, right? So be sure that you get Adobe Creative Suite on your computer. Here's a link to lynda.com. It's cheap, really is cheap. It used to be like $25 a month to subscribe to it. There's also free lynda.com videos, just if you Google something, like if you have a question like, what the heck is a paragraph style sheet? And then you see a link that says lynda.com, you know that it's going to demo paragraph style sheets in InDesign for you. So you're going to need to be resourceful if you're struggling through something, okay? What else can I tell you? I take attendance, matters to me. Matters to me that you're here and present. If you're not here, email me, say, I'm so sorry, I missed it because, okay? But I missed you, and I'm going to be there. And I'm going to watch the video, because I'll show you the link to it, which I haven't posted yet on this course, I realize.
Let's wait till Thursday so I can get it.
Okay, all right. And let's see, what else should I tell you? Oh, I need to update this link right here. This is not called You Send It anymore. It's called Hightail. Hey, Ryan. John? Yeah. So I'm a nice person, but I have my limits, which means I'm telling you absolutely today, get yourself 3 ways to back up everything. 3. Okay? So you've got your computer, that's 1. If your computer crashes, find a way that your entire computer is backed up somewhere. Okay? Dropbox is free. And I think they give you 2 gigabytes free. And then when you refer your friends, you get more free. And you can automatically send things to upload to Dropbox as backup, or you can, move it on over. Anybody not know what Dropbox is? Okay. So I'm preaching to the choir right now, right? Okay. Okay. Here's my backup plan. I have my computer. I have something, because I'm a professional, I have something called a Pegasus RAID, which has 4 mirror drives of my computer. So at all times I have 2 backup drives that work. And that's because I'm responsible for client work. I can't lose it. But my recommendation is I also pay for CrashPlan, where my computer is constantly uploading to CrashPlan and creating a whole mirror of it. So I have 3 ways I'm certain that I'm backed up. So I say the same to you because it breaks my heart when somebody puts a lot of work into something and they put it on a little flash drive stick and they lose the flash drive stick, or the flash drive stick fails, because they fail all the time, those things. So just make a mental note for yourself that you need to back things up. I have a student who's going to be in my portfolio class, and he told me today that, and I know he's been in school here for years, for I'm sure like 6 years, and taken all kinds of beautiful classes, created amazing work, and he said, I backed everything up on flash drives, and I kept a whole collection of flash drives of my backups, and he can't find any of them. He can't find that group of collection of backups. And so make a backup plan for yourself, okay? What else do I want to tell you? You can check me out on my website, victoriatorf.com, and I'm like the cobbler, the shoemaker who has children and he doesn't have time to make shoes for his children. You all heard that story before, right? So my website's old, but it's still there. I just haven't updated it in like 10 years. And somebody kindly said to me something which was the nicest thing they could say, which was, well, you haven't updated it because you've been so busy because you're getting work, right? And I said, that's right. And they said, okay, no problem, right? So, but you can get a sense of who I am from my website. You can email me at pipeline@sbcc.edu. And all of this is on your syllabus, so you'll be able to find it. In Moodle, I'm just going to take you to the home page in Moodle. Everything is here. We have under activities, which is in this little sidebar, depending on how you set up your page. You have all your assignments with all your deadlines. I'm a stickler for deadlines. There's a department policy which makes me a little bit crazy personally about when you can submit late work. And I'll just tell you the policy so you know. But I cringe because, like, why would you start a semester planning on submitting late work? That just sounds foolish, right? Because submitting your work on time means you're able to participate in class with your work and get feedback, and it's the live feedback that helps you all grow, because we're going to support one another with live feedback, okay? And so what I would do is I would put all these deadlines in your phone calendar, right? We all have them. And then you won't miss them, right? That's my plan anyway. But they might change, okay? Only because who knows what I'm going to do to this class. So let me take a breath here. Here is our book, Graphic Design Solutions. It's the 5th edition. It's in the bookstore. And you have quizzes that come out of this book. And you know something, this is something I forgot to check. But if we go under activities, we can go to quizzes. And we can look at your quiz. And it will tell us how many times you can take the quiz, which is 2. So you're going to take the quiz on your own. The quiz is open for about, I think it's short of a week, maybe a few days. Look at for when the quiz opens. You can take the quiz twice, so it will automatically register your highest grade. So the idea is not to nail you and say, aha, I caught you, you didn't know that, but to say, oh, look, you didn't understand that properly, go back, reread it, take the quiz again so you clarify it so you learned something, right? That's the point. John and I, our entire desire in life is your success. It is. We want you to achieve well. So write down all your quiz deadlines also, because you don't want to miss those. Those windows slam shut, and there's no late quiz submissions, okay? Everybody get that? All right. Okay. So there's 3 things that we're going to be talking about this week. There's the way the class is organized is there's a week 1 list of activities, things for you to read, videos for you to watch, and tools for you. This course is taught both as a face-to-face class and it's taught as an online class. So the way the course is set up for you is what everybody who's online sees. But I think it would be incredibly tedious for us to sit in class and watch a video, right? We have the benefit of being together and sharing ideas, and my hope is that that's how we use our time, right? Where I can demo things live that you have questions for, explain things that might help support your learning and understanding of something, and then when we have completed projects, to bring them in and share them so we share our ideas and critique them for how we can improve them so you could be more successful at what you're doing. Yeah? Does that work for you? Yeah? Okay. So the lectures, for the most part, I leave to you on your own, and the reading I leave to you on your own unless there's something I want to pull out of that. But there's 3 things I want to get us started on very easily. One is a Moodle profile. Everybody knows what the Moodle profile is. Moodle profile is simply a forum discussion. Is there anybody who doesn't know what a forum is? Is that a yeah? Forum is like posting on Facebook. It's for our class. Everybody can read it, a forum. You know what it is, okay. And this is just your Who Are You forum. You probably had to do it for other classes, okay? And there's some questions here. You add a discussion topic, and Phil, who is you, that's what I was right. Okay, so Phil's already posted for us. So he set our standard. So the idea is you want to get to know one another, okay? So you post on the forum. And yes, you get credit for doing so. If I come back here to the home page in Moodle, week 1, we're organized week by week. The next thing is really important. This is what I'd like you actually to pay close attention to. And I don't really need to read this to you, but I'm going to call attention to it, which is the idea is that not only do you create places for you to create storage and backup for yourselves, but just being on campus, being students. I'm sure, or I'm hoping, that most of you use Google Drive. Is there anybody who's not familiar with Google Drive? Okay. So Google has basically storage where you can create documents and store documents. You can store like Excel documents, like numbers, right? Spreadsheets. You can store Word documents, text. You can store an InDesign document. You can store it up there. And if it doesn't upload stored there, you could zip it in a folder and store it that way also. You'll let me know. You report back. What?
It's for MP3s.
You can store music and videos.
You can pretty much store any files.
Any file format. Okay. There you go. Including InDesign documents.
Yeah, it's
Raw
just like a
InDesign.
Dropbox.
It's just like a Dropbox.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. So it's another place for you to store stuff. But this assignment isn't just about learning Google Drive. This assignment is about each of you creating a folder for yourself that you can share with us on an open forum so people will see it. Artists that you wish to follow or that inspire you, that you're drawn to. And this is a fantastic thing. One of the things I find that I do when I find photographs that are shared images, I'm not stealing something, there's no copyright infringement, I'll create a folder. I have a folder where I store all this inspiring stuff. And the purpose of this assignment here is really so you start to be aware of designers that appeal to you, what it is that appeals to you. It's back to defining yourself. It's back to realizing what your design aesthetic is and what might be most natural for you. And as a new designer, since so many of you haven't really designed before, haven't created layouts and graphics before, you might have a real artistic creative sense, or I don't remember who it was back there, what your name is. Is it Nina? Did you say you made like funny little heads on people and bodies?
Jessica.
Jessica, is that what you said? Yeah.
I just Photoshop faces on the
Yeah. Okay, so you play around.
Yeah.
Right, so the idea is start to find artists that you like, that you can track and follow, websites that inspire you, graphics that inspire you, and all the criteria here is what you're going to submit. You're going to grab 5 images and designs from different designers. Do a little background check on them. Find out who the designer is, where you found them. It's all spelled out for you. Choose a designer. They can be anywhere on the planet, right? Find out who inspires you. Find out their background, what the images are. Post the link to your Google Drive to that folder you created so you can share it. Yeah, John?
One caveat with Google Drive and Dropbox is that sometimes these applications don't support all the features in a PDF. So if you have an interactive PDF, someone clicks on something, it may or may not work. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, what John is saying, for those of you who aren't familiar with interactive PDFs, your form today was an interactive PDF. And some interactive PDFs, they'll sing and they'll dance and they'll play music and they'll move and they'll be like a motion graphic. And what John's basically saying is it might not show up that way in a Google Drive.
Yeah, or in Dropbox or in the browser.
Right. So you'd have to pull them out of the browser or out of the Dropbox in order to view it the way you want it. Okay. Now, so this is your first assignment. You have time to poke around and look and get started on that, okay? But what you're doing is you're going to hopefully throughout the semester keep accumulating. And if we have projects and we need inspiration, this would be the container for your inspiration. So organize it the way it serves you, all right? And it is shared because it's on a forum. And then the next thing I want to call your attention to is this. I did this actually a while ago, and I'm re-implementing it here. And it's a project that is more wonderful than you will understand today. How's that for a setup, right? There's a link right here for this project. This is an assignment. And you have a long time, oh my gosh, what happened here? Oh, I know what happened here. I'll fix the link. I promise you, I will fix the link. Let's see if it works. Let's hope. Okay. Okay. So here's the link. This assignment I want to explain to you, and I'm going to show you visually, you know, picture's worth 1,000 words. Let me explain it. Oh, this is not good. This is so bad. Okay, I'll fix it. I'll have to fix it. I'll show it to you again on Thursday. This assignment is basically 16 projects plus a cover. And you're going to create a book, and it's not on computer. I know. What? I know. Look at that face. Face said, you got to be kidding me. So here's your project. Your project is that we are going to work with the principles of graphic design. We're going to understand layout by taking paper, okay, or material. You can use vinyl or cardboard or fabric, whatever thrills you, okay? And you're going to find heavy pages, not text weight pages that you get for your printer, heavy pages, and you're going to create page sizes that are consistent. Like you can make it 4 by 4, 8 by 8, 6 by 6, 12 by 12. It's up to you how big you wish to work. And every week or every day, because you've got 16 of them, you could finish this in a couple weeks. You could finish it in one, stay awake around the clock if you want. I don't care how you accomplish this, okay? But you're going to start bringing them in to share with us early on. And you're going to visit the concept of graphic design elements, such as here, the idea of a static composition, like 1A, where everything is aligned, very grid-like, or a dynamic composition that creates movement. And you can do it in black and white, you can do it in monochromatic, you could do it where you get, let's say, black construction paper, you know, that Art Canson paper, those of you who are artists, that kind of heavyweight. And you cut it into, you make 16 pages out of it, and you can cut it into squares. Or you decide if you want to make facing pages. Think long and hard how you want to make this book. It's your book, okay? I do not wish to dictate how to do it. And maybe you decide that everything you place on your pages is all made out of newsprint, or all made out of cut-up magazines, or all made out of recycled materials, right? Things that have been discarded. And you're going to create pages dealing with defining space through placement. So right here, you're defining space, we're focusing on positive, negative space. You're focusing on the scale of something, the weight of a line, and how it changes the dynamics. And the reason why I don't want you to do this digitally is we all sit down at our computers and we all think that magically the computer is going to take care of our design. It's painful to me that most people think you sit at a computer, if you know the software, you draw a box, you're done, and there's not a lot of thought into placement and position and so forth. Phil, can you hang with me, please? Thanks. And so the reason why I want you to make a physical book out of this is by the act of placing something on a page and moving it around until you're happy, and then gluing it down into permanent position on a page. It's a physical act, and you start to realize by the kinesthetic movement of how we are placing images and changing balance and positive, negative space on a page. Okay, is everybody following that? And I'm going to update this so you get a sense of it, but what you need to accomplish is simply what you see here. So, for example, this A and B, this is called figure ground. Figure ground is basically saying positive, negative. It's like if I were to create, let me turn the light. If I had two elements, my page and a circle, I've created totally different layouts, right? That the importance or the balance of those pages in the positive negative space varies hugely just based on that one element on a page. And the idea is that when you do graphic design, when you do any design, everything you do communicates a feeling, an emotion, and a message. So if you look at all those layouts and you were creating a brochure for a yoga studio and you had to pick one of those layouts, or a meditation studio, it's kind of like, which layout would you pick? What'd you pick? Anybody know? I mean, there's no wrong answer.
The top one.
The top one. Why would you pick the top one?
Because it's in the center, and like yoga, I guess, is about finding your center.
That's
So
right.
you want something like
Okay.
that adds balance.
Okay. And your name is?
Josh.
Josh. Did you hear Josh back there? It's Brian. Is that Brian?
Brad.
Brian?
Brad.
Brad. Did you hear him?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Okay. So, exactly. So you might think that this is kind of an abstract exercise, but it's not. As you start to move things on the page, you start to realize how you place something. You know, if you're creating a message with type, where type is your line, right? Okay, so here's an image, and this is your type. Here's your image, and that's your type. Here's your image. That's your type. I mean, all of those are valid layouts, and you can look at one of those and you can say, you know, one of those would have a headline that says, gosh, you feeling disconnected from your mate? Are you not communicating effectively? Right? Another one might say, is it time to do something a little different? You know, like life's a little too boring, right? So there are all these visual shapes and how they're positioned are metaphors for how you're going to come up here where the fan is. It's so much better, really. Anyway, so you can see that all these shapes that you're going to start to work with are going to start to trigger your thinking about the importance of placement of images, the scale of your images, the relationship that your images create to one another. And this book, I'll show you some sample books, but in other words, you can take cardboard, 8.5 by 11 paper, make it 8.5 by 8.5. I recommend not working with this. Don't work with this. It's just so boring, right? Maybe wide. I think square is best. I think it gives you the kind of most innocent canvas to work with. And you can start putting this together at any time. I get kind of crazy about it because I personally love this project. The results that have been done are beautiful. The materials you use don't have to be black and white, like I said. I encourage you to use found materials. They're going to feel more authentic to you, more organic, more fun, more interesting. Maybe what you decide to do is buy sheets and sheets of, or find sheets and sheets of paper and stain it. Drink your coffee and pour the rest on it, and drop ink and tomatoes and things on it until you've got stained, multicolored, tie-dyed, interesting paper. And then cut it up. School teacher. Tell me your name again.
Kelly.
Kelly. I remember in elementary schools they had something called community paper. Do they have that in your elementary school?
If we do, we don't call it community paper.
Okay.
What is it?
Community paper was a bunch of kids would go paint paper, and it would be the leftover nonsense paper that was useless or discarded, or they just had fun slathering paint on something. And rather than throw it away, you'd set it aside, and community paper meant anybody in the community, the school community, could use it, and then you could use it for things. One of the things I used to do, I don't know if any of you are parents, my daughter used to be in preschool and paint stuff on paper, paint, and I'd scan it and keep a very high resolution scan of it and use it as backgrounds in my graphic design work because it created dimension and texture. You want to see what I mean by that? Is anybody curious about that? Rather than describing it abstractly to you. I mean, the idea is I think this project's fun. I want you to have fun doing it. I don't want you to think of it as something tedious. I want you to have fun and get inspired by it. So if you went, let me just save this link. I'll fix the link for you, like I said. So here's my website. Excuse me. I did a book design. Let me come back to graphic design books. There we go. So this book right here, I don't know if you can see it well enough. That book right there is, if you guys know an artist named Rothko, has anybody ever heard of Rothko? Raise your hand if you have, I can't see, okay. So Rothko is an artist and he just painted, he filled paper and canvases with color. He just laid color on, and I used to go to museums and say, oh look, this is Rothko's blue period, and I'd make up a story about his girlfriend Zelda, and he broke up with Zelda and he was sad, and so he painted only blue. Because you step into his paintings, there's another artist named Malevich, and it's just color on color. So my daughter in preschool painted blue, but she was in preschool, so one of the kids next to her had put the red brush in the blue paint container, so when she pulled out the blue brush, it had red all over it, and she painted. So the blue was this beautiful, it just had all these rich colors in the blue, random. And I scanned this newsprint paper, which, you know, crumbles like in a week because newsprint's so disintegratable. Is that a word? It is now. Thank you. Right. And I scanned it because I just love this painting. And I used it as a background. So it's a blue background, and on top of it is a planning map, which if you've ever seen city planning maps, are kind of boring. And then this book cover, so it's layered and dimensional, and it adds more depth. I mean, imagine if you just had these three images and the text without that dimensionality behind it. It would be kind of ordinary, more ordinary. So back to community paper. So be inspired. Go have fun. Maybe start your project off by creating all the paper you're going to use in all your 16 pages. And because it has a uniformity to it, right, even if it's all wild different tie-dyes or if it's all newsprint or something, it's going to feel cohesive when you're done with all the 16 pages of your book. Does everybody follow that? Okay. So I want you to look ahead to it and get inspired. There's a link here. I'll show you what this comes from. There's a link right here called Design Principles. This project comes from, truthfully, long, long ago. A professor at another college, I cannot take credit for this whatsoever, I am not that smart, created a sequence of exercises to teach graphic design principles. And this explains it. You'll find it in Unit 2, as a matter of fact. I just lost my page, right? Here we go. And it's a PDF you can download. And the web link that I located came from this. This explains it more thoroughly to you. And it's more extensive. I don't want you to go as far down into this project. It goes further than we're going to carry it. And you, like I said, you don't have to do it in black or red, and you don't have to emulate what they're doing. You have to understand the intention of it. And that's why I physically want you to do it. Now, if you come when you're all done with this, if you come to love this, which hopefully you will, you're going to create a book. You're going to have to figure out how to bind it, right? So do think about that as you design it. So in other words, if you make single pages to something like this, so let me turn on the light for you to think about this. So if you make a book and you build it with single pages, and your pages are all square, how do you bind it? If you poke holes in it, you've now, what's the word I'm looking for? You've now violated your design space. So if you, for example, decided this square is your design space and we're leaving this here for bindery, that might be a good plan. Everybody get that? All right. The other thing is, you can say, you might decide that this is your design space here. Let me fold it this direction. And you only do artwork on a right-hand page. And here you might decide you label it. You decide you call it proximity, or you call it figure ground, or whatever the principle is that you're working on. And then, because you've created a book like this, and you go page after page after page, right? You realize that you can now bind it here. But you have to plan this really well. This is where it gets confusing, which is what you learned to do when you guys bound books, which is really confusing. So I want you to think about and maybe sketch out a plan. Actually do this for Thursday. This will get y'all thinking. Sketch out on a piece of paper what your plan is on how you might want to bind it. In other words, if you think that you want to bind it by having all these pages and you want to staple them here on the spine, who's got a magazine with them stapled? It's like the catalog or something, the card catalog. Anyway, if you staple it here, you're going to have to organize your pages so the right-facing pages work. And I'll explain that to you another time. Or the other thing is, can you hold your spiral notebook up, please? The other thing is if you have loose pages, like, what's your name? Frida, right? I say it right, okay. So if you decide you have loose pages like this and you want to bind it with a spiral binding, then that's fine if you have loose pages. Spiral binding works. We have a spiral binder here, actually, on campus, so it's a good option. The other thing is, if you really love what you've done and you kind of become enamored with it, I do want you to make a physical book, but what you can do is you can scan your pages and you could go to something like Blurb Online and create a hardbound book out of it, or a perfect bound book out of it. This is called perfect binding, where you have that little spine there and it's a soft cover. All right. So what I want you to do is just think through what materials you might use for your book, right? For your design principles book. You have till the midterm, week 8, to complete it. I don't think it's difficult, because you can have tons of projects in between, okay? Don't get me wrong. This is like your little side job here. So, you know, you could go home tonight and do it around the clock, but I'd rather you come back Thursday and tell me what you're doing. So you have time to do it, but think about it, and if you come to love it, you can ultimately scan it. Does anybody like collage art? Yeah. So you've seen collage art probably online. You've seen collage art in books, right? All right. So that is physically created collages that have been scanned and digitized, but have that organic quality because they were handmade. Everybody gets that? All right. So what I want to do, because I think we're all melting. Are we all melting? Yeah, we're all melting. So for the beginning, you're going to come back on Thursday, and your job should be to post to Moodle your profile. Make sure you uploaded that questionnaire so I could take a glance at where you're at. And you're not graded on it if you didn't realize that, right? And come back on Thursday with a little sketch in your notebook as to what materials you plan to use for your design principles. You're not going to get graded on that. It's really for conversation, so we can troubleshoot it. So when you start, you'll have thought through how you're going to ultimately bind your book and not regret that you didn't do something. Does everybody get that? All right. And then we'll come back and keep on going. Is there any questions? Yes, sir.
Is what you just told us on Google or already shown?
It is,
Where
oh, so
you
this,
have, like,
complete a book for the principles of graphic design, the assignment,
Yeah,
it's right here.
that's all for like us. Okay, I got it.
It's for 8 weeks. That's where you submit it. You can go, since my link is really bad, I apologize, I'll
But
fix
what you
it.
said for that's due on Thursday, is that like posted somewhere too, so I can like reference?
No.
it?
Your brain has to remember that.
Okay.
Do we need graphic design solutions and essential graphic design solutions? They were both listed there required and one. So, one is a heck of a lot more expensive and bigger, and the other one is not so much.
This is your bigger better, right?
Yep.
This is what you need. You don't need to buy them both, I don't believe.
Okay, yeah, the other one says it's required in the bookstore, but it just says. both say-
I am not going to make it required. So buy one book.
I'm guessing there's overlap with the essentials one, like it's.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting because I received these books and I don't think that both are required. I am not going to make both required. Buy this big red one. If I change my mind, I'll tell you. But for now, one should suffice. Okay?
Can we see all the assignments?
Yes. You can see all the assignments for the whole semester now. However, I think I started the class by saying to you, I haven't taught this class in so long and things have morphed so much that I'm not sure that I'm going to hold on to everything as you see it. Or as we create it, I'm going to look at it and say, oh, I'm going to make this little shift for you. Or as I notice that your design skills or your software skills are increasing, I'm probably going to amp it up a bit. The other part is, and anybody who's had me in a class probably knows this, there is nothing that I won't support if you want to push your way through to something spectacular. Meaning, if an assignment is okay, you know, it's a good assignment, but you want to do something extraordinary, there's an assignment at the end of the semester which I won't change. I think it's a fantastic assignment. Let's just go straight to it, right? I won't make it too long, I promise. We'll talk about it later. But there's an assignment here. I'm looking for the word brochure. Does anybody see brochure? Discussion brochure. I want to find, see brochure here. Here, brochure. Well, see what this says.
19 October to 24.
I don't know. Here, let me just pull this up. Anyway, your final assignment for the semester is that you design a brochure. And I believe the brochure has to have a die cut in it, which is why I asked one of you if you know what a die cut is. And I am so all about you designing something extraordinary for brochure. Brochures are complicated. They are not, in my universe, taking, tell me your name again, Human Resources. Anuja? Okay. So in Anuja, you probably had to create these all the time as a human resources person. I actually taught a course for people like you who had to do it, who had no design skills a long time ago. So a brochure does not mean this. This is like, I'm going to yawn right now. This is like so boring. So I want you to, you know, make a die cut out of the center of it and make a special shape and have it fold in a cool way and have it meet the mailing requirements and have a pop-up jump out at you and sing. I mean, I don't know. But the idea is I want you guys to open your mind to things that get you excited instead of saying I'm making a brochure and this is boring. You know, for some of you that's going to be beginning skills and that's no problem. But it doesn't take much more to think a little further. And I'm here to help you do that, okay? So, what other questions did we have? Nada? Okay. So, if you want to stay and you need an ad code, come on up. And you're wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you at 1 on Thursday. We will not have air conditioning, so be prepared, okay? I know it won't be fixed yet. Just,
All year?
what?
Is that all year?
All year? No, that's not all year. It's not all year. Something broke and they have to fix it and I just don't think it's going to get done. Okay. Thank you guys. We should be done.